computer applications. All you need to have very rudimentary basic training in computer and use of cell phone. So I'm not really worried about that end of training part. And I think India has enough both number and quality of people with talent to have those training and to have those jobs done.
Kunal, would you like to add to some of that?
Not really. I think Ananda covered everything I would have said. There is no shortage of people interested in learning AI at the application level. How we use it is another question. Whether we use all of that talent to write software and AI software for developed countries like the West, or do we use it for indigenous use?
Maitreesh, is there anything from you?
No, I think I'm largely, in agreement with what Ananda and Kunal said, because indeed, given market pressures, the labor market will channel human resources in a certain way, like Kunal said, maybe the back end of multinational companies and so on. But on the other hand, we are not necessarily at the mercy of market forces only. There is rule for policy. There's rule for concerted effort. After all, the Soviet Union, for all its economic problems, did manage to excel in certain aspects of science and technology. So therefore, it is possible. Now the question is, how will it be done? Is it feasible?
Political intent. Yeah,
exactly. In the kind of, given the current set of preoccupations we have in terms of looking back at the past and kind of thinking more in terms of identity politics or versus taking a more progressive and forward-looking view.
Yeah, I mean, let me just quickly say one thing here, and not wading into political landscape here, but I think at every level that I have looked at, as I think Maitreesh started saying right at the beginning, is that it's not that the government doesn't have any policies or papers. If you look through that, you will see that every government, whether it's local or federal government, they have these things. I think the problem is A, is implementation, and B, is understanding, right? If people who are making these policies, if they have enough expertise, or they are really acquiring or consulting with real experts to have these policies done and implement these policies, that's a different level. But I think the intent is there. Whether the application is there or not will depend on a variety of factors. But I think the government is in general, all the governments are trying really to understand, and there is an acknowledgement at least that AI is going to be, as Maitreesh said, is going to be the fourth industrial revolution. So that acknowledgement is there. Application is perhaps a different issue.
All right. This is the last question we have before we wrap it up and get into Adda, if possible, because we are already 2 minutes. We are almost 7 minutes above. There is so overall, and this question goes to all three of you. Overall, if you look at the healthcare segment, it's fairly split across the caregivers, the private and the government, and the payer segment, the provider segment. Everything it's a very fragmented market, right? Also, in course of this discussion, we did learn that there is a different kind of a motor when it comes to the public sector, policy making, implementation. So from a theory, a policy, and a praxis perspective, and also from the commercial companies who are getting into AI. Is there so this my kind of a question to the three of you. Is there a case for some kind of a combined, like Ananda was also talking about, something developed with Google, right? One of these applications that Ananda was talking about. So is there a case for more concerted, public-private kind of a partnership, a PPP partnership kind of thing to kind of make sure that healthcare in India can leverage AI and jump, leapfrog a couple of, decades or something like that.
Maitreesh, do you want to start?
Not really, in the sense that, sure, in an ideal world, there is scope for public-private partnership, and some of it is already happening. But like we saw with the Aadhaar card and other types of policy initiatives, while there's public-private partnership of some kind, it is not often done in a way that is touching on the concerns of the sort of the disadvantaged sections. But I've made that general theme, referred to that several times. So I would much rather hear what Kunal and Ananda have to say.
Yeah, so my take on that is that, so I cannot agree more with Maitreesh. I totally see that what he's saying, and I have the same opinion. So I think there are two ways of really looking at this public-private partnership. One is organically generated. I think those are probably the more fruitful ones. And so, for instance, the example that we provide there in the article about Google and Microsoft partnering with hospitals in India, particularly in southern India, for diabetic retinopathy. So those are basically organically done. Those are not government regulated ones, right? And so if those happen, then that's great. But I'm not sure that the government enforced ones are going to be very effective or going to be really useful for a wide swath of population.
Yeah, and I think there is the other side of that is the academic participation. I think that may be more fruitful in India if the IITs of the country and other institutions work closely with the government.
Well, that's a great point. Yeah,
absolutely. Well, on behalf of RoughKhata, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Ananda, Kunal, and Maitreesh. This was extremely eye-opening for me, and really loved talking to all of you. And I was like scared.
সবাইকে শুভ নববর্ষের শুভেচ্ছা, এবং আশা করি আমাদের এই আলোচনা সবার ভালো লেগেছে এবং ভবিষ্যতে এরকম আরো হবে।
Thank you. শুভ নববর্ষ।
শুভ নববর্ষ।